Thank you for joining us today. We're really excited about what we're talking about today. Oh, I'm actually a little bit nervous about today.
You
And
are.
I'm never nervous, but I am just so impressed with this material that you wrote that I want to do it justice. I just really think it's super helpful, super intuitive and insightful.
It's not new. It's not like I wrote it. I just put things together that, you know what I mean? It's nothing new. It's nothing you haven't heard before, but it's so important that we all understand this concept because if you don't, you're miserable.
I love that the way you have it organized, first of all, makes sense, but it also alleviates shame. Sometimes I feel shame if I'm not growing. Sometimes I feel shame if I'm unhappy. I mean, we were raised to always be happy, right?
Mhm.
So if I'm not happy, does that mean I'm bad or I'm doing something bad? Really alleviates that. It's like this is just where you're at.
I'm going to put it on the screen. This
Okay.
is the zones. In the middle, obviously, is the comfort zone. We're going to talk about each of these zones and why they matter and how they teach us. So the first is the comfort zone, the stretch zone, and then the panic zone.
And honey, if you're living in the panic zone, I am so sorry.
So it's obviously everybody wants to be in the comfort zone. That's obvious, right? Nobody likes panicking and nobody likes stretching. It's not fun, but it's impossible to stay in the comfort zone.
Life will kick you out if you're there too long, but there's no shame in being in the comfort zone.
No,
We all need that moment when we've stretched or we've had really hard things that make us panic. We need a respite. We need that moment in the comfort zone.
very good
It's
point.
it's such an important part of all of it. You don't work 24 hours. You take a rest so your body can rest. Well, your mind needs that rest too, and your spirit and your mental health needs a rest. So that's what the comfort zone is. There's no shame in being in the comfort zone. You just don't want to live there. You
And
need
don't get
all three.
stuck there because it's so easy. It's so easy to get just want to get stuck there.
Yeah, you don't want to eat all vegetables because you need iron and protein in the meat. You don't want to eat all meat because you need the vitamin E and whatever else in the vegetables and the fruits. And so it's kind of like that for the soul. You need all three. So you should never feel shame of where you're at. But this is so helpful so I can recognize where I'm at. So I know, hey, I'm in the panic zone. I could spend some time in the comfort zone.
I love it. The energy is good. So let's just define real quick what the comfort zone is. It's something that you've done before and you've had success doing. If you've succeeded at something, you feel good at it, and therefore it becomes comfortable.
I'm
And
really comfortable doing nothing.
yeah,
I have a game on my phone that I'm really good at. Does that count?
sure. This is an area that other people are going to notice. This is an area that they may compliment you in and be like, oh, you're so good at this. Or other people will be like, that is her strength. It's not necessarily that you're comfortable, but something that's not necessarily hard for you. This is a zone where you're very creative, it's very childlike, it's very innocent, it's very freeing. So that is the comfort zone. I love it. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, yes. We all need time there.
Yeah. Okay. So the stretch zone.
You said no one likes being in the stretch zone, and I really like it.
I have to admit, knowing you, you do.
I do. I like
Yeah.
learning. I like challenging myself. I like growing. I like learning new things. That's what the stretch zone is, where you push yourself. You do something that you don't have confidence in. Being in the stretch zone, you're gonna feel this uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, can I do this? And if I don't do, if I fail, what does that say about me? What will people think of me? How will I provide financially if I fail? I mean, there's all sorts of fears and factors in the stretch zone that you have to work through.
The stretch zone, I love the word you used. The stretch zone is work.
Yes, it is.
It's a working zone.
Well, they can all three be a working zone.
True.
But yes, this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where you say, oh, I do not want to do this. And I want the results. So I'm going to pull up my big girl panties and get to work.
This is the zone where growth happens, where
Mm-hmm.
becoming happens, where overcoming happens. And so if you're always in the comfort zone, believe it or not, it's not happy. It's just
Yeah.
comfortable. Happiness is on the other side of the stretch zone, overcoming some. And we confuse that. Our brains lie to us. It's confusing.
Yes. We believe just the emotion. So when we're in the stretch zone, we feel this discomfort, we feel this insecurity, and we don't like that feeling. Our minds say that's bad. Oh, that's a bad emotion. Not a bad emotion at all. You can't, what is the saying? You can't have courage if you don't have fear. You can't have growth if you don't stretch. It's a beautiful place. And I think happiness doesn't necessarily happen in the stretch zone or even on the other side of the stretch zone. I think happiness is finding a perfect balance between all three of these zones.
And that's
Even the panic zone has its
Mhm.
place in your life.
Absolutely. In the stretch zone, there's 5 principles that we have on our thing. It can be hard and time consuming, overcoming your natural patterns. This is where your greatest growth will happen. Courage is almost always required, and sometimes there aren't immediate results. So in the stretch zone, there's a lot of patience required.
Courage and patience,
Courage
my
and
two
patience.
best adjectives.
Me too. Acceptance and humility are needed in this zone because you have to admit that you're not good at this. You have to admit
Yeah, yeah.
that this is uncomfortable. But there's a power that comes to your life when you can say, I am uncomfortable.
And that's okay.
Hey,
Because I'm
not only
using that.
okay, but good.
Yeah, I'm going to use that discomfort to grow, to learn.
I have to make mistakes. Have to.
That's a tough one. I'm sorry, that's a tough one.
The hard part.
And I thought it was just me and even our family and the way we were raised by a perfectionist, but I'm finding it's pretty much across the board. Male, female, all humans are uncomfortable with failure. We get that little voice in our head that says, you failed, you are a failure. Our oldest sister once said to me, she was frustrated with her husband because he would pay her compliments and say, wow, you taught a really good lesson, instead of saying, you are a really good teacher. But she also does it on the negative.
Mhm.
If she fails, she thinks of herself as a failure. So we're not our actions. We're
We're
not that one action. We're the product of all of our actions over our entire lifetime. You're talking, 80, 100 years sometimes. One failure, if you learn from it, that's a positive, good thing, right?
Yeah, and I think that's why judgment is so dangerous. When we judge someone, we're judging them on one moment or one bit of information, maybe even a weak moment. We might even be right, but we don't have the full picture. We're
Yeah.
judging from just that moment, and it might be
Yeah.
when they're weakest. In this zone, you can actually learn, and that's kind of what we do in our program is we teach people how to choose what you become. When you're in the stretch zone, there's actually choices here. Choosing what you become is in this zone. And it's really empowering to look at that and say, I get to choose that I want
Yeah.
to grow in this area. I want to grow in this area. And when you slow things down and you know how to choose that, it's very empowering.
Yes, and so many of us live our lives letting our subconscious fears and insecurities choose for us. We're
Mhm.
triggered, we respond. We're triggered, we respond. And this program is designed to help you break that cycle.
Okay, panic zone. And then we can talk more about how the all three go together. In the panic zone, this is where we find anxiety. This is where we
Okay.
find worry. This is where we have control issues. These are our fear-based reactions, the fight or flight or freeze or blame zone.
So, would withdrawal or stonewalling be in the panic zone?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a different look of panicking, but it's still
Yeah, yeah,
panicking.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
It's hiding,
Instead of being aggressive and attacking, you're going to,
it's fighting.
but like you said, it's still based on fear. It's still based on insecurities.
In this zone, there's a lot of revenge seeking, there's a lot of safety seeking, and there's a lot of
Okay.
defensiveness. You can recognize when you're in it. You feel like you need protection, you need a wall, you feel like you're vulnerable. We all feel vulnerable, okay, even in the stretch zone. But in the panic zone, you feel unsafe. And that warrior fighter in all of us will just come out.
Yeah.
So
So what's the benefit of the panic zone?
thank you for that question. There are times when we do need to be that aggressive to protect ourselves,
Yeah.
even just from a lion, a bear, a tiger. This is where fear is good for us. This is where fear protects us. This is where someone might be abusing us and we need to stand up for ourselves or our children, or there have been wars and we survival. We do need to survive. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I do need can protect myself. So sometimes defensiveness is even a good thing. I always told Gina that if we were in war, I would want to be at her side because she fierce. She is a Shira warrior fighter.
There's other words for it, but thank you. Those are much more complimentary.
Gina.
I, I recently had a coworker tell me, "You have such an intense personality." And I was like, "Thank you."
Right? What do you do with that?
Yeah, I'm like, "Yeah." And you say that like it's a bad thing. It's really kind of
Um,
fun sometimes. You just wait. Once you get to know me, I can be a lot of fun.
oh, absolutely.
One of the things I thought of that is a benefit for me in the panic zone is it's very motivating. I hate it there. So it motivates me to get back in the stretch zone. The panic zone isn't work. It's just panic. You're not creating, you're not progressing, you're just surviving. That feeling is so unpleasant that it motivates me to get back into that stretch zone. Sometimes I have to take a moment in the comfort zone and build my way back into the stretch zone. But if I can remember that panic feeling, I'm like, no, I never want to have that feeling of, I don't know how to pay my bills. Or I never want to have that feeling of, oh, I did it wrong and it really hurt somebody I love. I hate that feeling. It motivates me to do better. It motivates me to become better, to do the work.
So I worked with someone who gave me permission to share this, but I'm not sharing his name. I had one client that would jump in his life from the comfort zone to the panic
Okay.
zone. And then the panic zone feels horrible. So then he'd jump back
Right?
to the comfort zone. And then the comfort zone, he'd have to get out of it, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
you can't stay there forever. So then it would go back to the panic zone. And it was
But
never
yeah, yeah.
just the stretch zone.
So how did you discover that? I'm
This
curious.
going over
Yeah,
this with him and
going over the
yeah, saying
zone.
his wife was so tired of him either being one or the other.
Yeah,
It's
I
exhausting.
can't I can't relate at all.
I didn't think so. Me neither. I mean,
Right? Well, and that's like a person being well intended.
oh,
They
sure.
probably jump into that panic zone with very good intentions of wanting improvement, wanting to work, wanting to change and grow, and they don't find change and growth. That has to be very unsatisfying.
You live in what used to be or what could be. You're
The
not living
future.
in the present. The comfort zone has a lot of longing.
But the panic zone has very little living in the now. It's past. You're ruminating about things in the past, or you're worrying about something that's going to happen in the future.
What we tend to do is we compete with ourselves. We all have some areas that we're more comfortable with than others. And I think sometimes we look at other people and we think that because they're comfortable, that means they're confident.
Mm.
And what happens in our mind when we think that?
Um, Judgment of ourselves, that comparison comes
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm-hmm. And then we think
Killer.
because we're uncomfortable, that means we're not confident. So when we have an uncomfortable feeling, something's wrong with me, I'm broken, I need to fix this.
Shame. Shame, shame, shame.
Shame. Yeah.
Yep.
When
Yeah.
someone appears confident, That just means that they're regulating their fear. They're regulating that.
I know. Yeah, when you speak in church and someone says, you didn't look at all nervous. And I'm like, well, then I'm really good at masking.
I think people just say that now too, because we all love that idea, right? That we didn't look nervous. But what if we freaking are nervous? What if we're petrified?
Always, always nervous to one degree or another.
It's healthy to be nervous.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, if
That's
you weren't nervous, you would be kind of psychopathic because
right.
you would be blocking out too much emotion.
Right. Right. And so one thing that I find, we'll use this example of public speaking, okay? You're nervous, you're scared, those are panic. But where you really need to be is in the stretch zone. So if you can just recognize, okay, I'm in the panic zone. I won't do a good job because my brain is shut down. The logical part of your brain is actually bypassed. So you're going to stand up and look stupid because you are. Because all your intelligence that you have learned and studied and life experience will be trapped behind the panic. You will not be able to access it. So if you can recognize it, then you can say, okay, we're going to calm it down a little bit and we're going to go into the stretch zone. It still feels uncomfortable, but it's not panic. We're going to regulate those emotions. We're going to feel them. We're going to breathe through them. We're going to acknowledge that it's a good thing. This will motivate me to prepare better. This will motivate, then we're going to move back into that stretch zone. And so 90% of the work is just being able to recognize that's where you're at.
Growth comes from being uncomfortable. Connection comes from growth.
Wait, say that again.
Connection comes from growth.
You don't think you can connect in the comfort zone?
I do. Maybe connect isn't the right word. Maybe we should use a different word. Connection, real love, real endurance, real
Because
lasting relationships.
no, I'm
Um,
going to push back a little.
okay, good.
Okay. Take our relationship. Okay.
Hmm.
There are moments when I call you and I'm in the panic zone.
Sure.
For
Advice.
you to sit with me in the panic zone, do you know how comforting that is? How bonding, how connecting that is? When I'm in the growth zone and I'm just fired up and excited, guess what? I can call you then too. You can live with me in the stretch zone, even if you're personally in the comfort or panic zone.
Mm.
And that's what makes you so good at this coaching and counseling people, because you can be in any zone and you can live with them in where they're at, in their emotions.
Meet them where they're at. Yeah.
Yes. There's no other time that I want my spouse with me as when I'm in the comfort zone. It's so much more comforting and fun and safe and calm and peaceful if he's there with me. There was that one time.
That one time when you guys sat down and enjoyed like each other.
No, I jest.
I do think it's important to say too that when we're in the panic zone, we're our worst selves.
Yep.
That is our very worst. And when you see someone in the panic zone, they're their worst selves. That's not them
Yeah.
most of the time.
Yes. Okay. So if I see someone, obviously they're in the panic zone. Okay. How would I help them see and understand that you can't look at them and say, okay, buddy, you are panicking and you need to stop and you need to run for safety in the safe zone?
Good luck with that. You can try.
That is another thing I really have appreciated about you, Beth, is that you know exactly when you can and should do that.
Well, you can't regulate other people's emotions. We've talked about that
No,
a lot on this
no,
show, right? So
yeah,
you can't change what they're feeling, but you can
right.
help them accept it. You can help them learn from it. You can
You
help
can
them.
help them recognize it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a question. I love the phrase get curious and just say, hey, where are you at right now? How are you feeling? What emotions are going on? This isn't like you. This
Right.
isn't the Beth I know. or you don't seem happy. Where are you at emotionally? Instead of saying, how can I help you? Because I'm the hero and I'm going to run in and regulate your emotions for you, or even help you regulate your own emotions. No,
That doesn't help.
no, no. It puts you in the parent-child relationship. And I don't even do that with my children.
Like they would let us. I think I would if they let me, but they don't let me.
Good
Let's
point.
be honest. I think
Okay.
I would.
My husband jokes that I've been treating them like they're adults since they were 10.
Yeah, you have. Since they were born. I remember you. Oh my gosh, when Gina was had a baby and she'd be explaining to this newborn, now this is why you're getting a shot. This is gonna hurt
Yeah,
for a minute.
yeah.
Whether they understood it or not, you were teaching them.
Yes, absolutely.
I think it
We
was
don't
cool.
we don't eat plants because they're poison for your body.
I have a friend who we've been through a lot of hard things together, and she's my hey, let's go for a drive friend. When either one of us were just emotionally tired and exhausted, she would call and say, I need a drive. And I'm like, okay, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
And we got to be so close because we shared in that pain together.
Mm,
And now, even now, every time we talk to each other, she's like, I was given you as a gift. And I say, I was given you as a gift
mhm,
because we got through the painful parts of our so much pain together.
mhm.
And I think that's what I mean when there's a connection that happens through pain.
Absolutely. But there's also a connection that happens when you're so excited. Have you ever had something
With
really good happen
hmm
and you just really want to share it and you're like, I don't have anyone I can share this with?
That same friend I can sit and do nothing with. She's so
That's awesome.
hilarious because she has to have naps. And she's like, I'm just gonna go take a nap. You can sit here. I mean, I'm at her house as a guest, and she's like, help yourself, I'm going to take a nap, kind of a relationship.
That's awesome.
I think that's important too. That downtime,
Yes.
like you're saying.
Yeah. So
Share the
you're
comfort.
seeing it, aren't you? How you can connect in all three zones.
Yes. So connection, and I want to point out that connection happens differently in each zone. You get a different
Absolutely.
benefit from it. So if you recognize what zone your spouse is in, this is that opportunity.
Can I also point out one more thing? That you are going to have your people that you call when you're in the panic zone.
Hmm.
And you're going to have people that you can't call when you're in the panic zone.
And that
Um,
doesn't mean they don't love you. It doesn't mean that. Don't make it mean
right. They're just really good at the panic zones. So you turn to them for that. Be careful. My caution is if you always call the same person when you're in the panic zone, try to have some fun comfort zone moments with them as well. If your relationship is only based on, oh, she helps me every time I panic, that is not first, it's not a reciprocal relationship. And second, it can be kind of shallow, not shallow, that's not the right word I want, one-sided, one-dimensional.
that.
And if you have connection, like you said, with your let's go for a drive friend in all three zones, now you're talking three-dimensional. Now you're talking this is
Mhm.
ride or die
Mhm.
friend that's where the money's at, right? We all need and deserve friends, plural, like that. But also be aware sometimes people are not even your panic zone friend, there will be moments when they can't do it. They can't be there.
Well, you said
So
something important. You said recognize what zone you need. So that's
yeah.
part of the benefit of recognizing the zones because if I'm always in the comfort zone, I know I need to push myself a little bit to the stretch zone.
Yes.
If I'm always in the panic zone, I know I need some comfort. The
Mhm.
stretch zone, if I'm always in the stretch zone, that can be exhausting too. We need a break. And maybe we're just, maybe that's the personality. There's no up or down, right? We're all going to be comfortable with some things that actually make other people panic. So something that makes me comfortable can actually make my friend panic.
Yes.
And when we're together,
Yeah.
if I don't
You're like,
recognize that,
yeah. You're like, let's go take the kayaks out. And your friend's going, I am deathly afraid of water. And you're like, oh, it's so peaceful and calming. It's my zone, is my happy place. And she's going, I could throw up right now.
Oh my gosh, that literally happened, Gina. Literally, that example is exactly what we did.
No.
We went kayaking in Oceanside, California. It was so great. It was wonderful. And for me, it's my happy place, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
she was so scared. I could tell this was not her comfort zone. And she was stretching herself, which I
Hmm.
respect, right?
And
But
she was doing that for you. That's cool.
yeah, yeah, totally. And the idea of having a new experience, but it was a stretch zone. So
Hmm.
I respect that. She told me before we left, I just know I'm gonna flip. I just know I am. And I was like, no, I'll help you out. You're not, and I taught her, how to not flip.
Hmm. And she flipped.
She totally flipped.
Of course she did. Most first timers do, first of all. And second, she had that in her head.
Yeah, she had it in her head. But
And she was okay.
she was okay. I was gonna say it. She was actually so good about it. That stretching and that growth. And now she's not afraid of kayaking. And guess what? Now she said, next time I want to go again. And now it might actually be a comfort zone for her.
Or right there on the line.
Yeah.
I did it once. I think I could do it again.
It
Yeah.
might go wrong
Yeah.
again. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah.
So people who are very anxious, who live often in the panic zone or even mentally, sometimes it doesn't show up physically, but it's mental panic, right? Worry, 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 worry. If you are a personality that's OCD, you have to control everything. Everything has to be clean, or you don't feel safe. What a psychiatrist's treatment will be is to let things get dirty. Their treatment is to get you out of what makes you feel safe.
Get you in that stretch zone.
Isn't that interesting? And it's not out of meanness. It's not out of cruelty. It's out of,
Because you're living in the panic zone.
Mhm.
And now you're going to get into the stretch zone. I see a lot of people too, though. I think it's a trend in our society right now that if someone asks you for help, asks you to babysit, or asks you to come help them with their yard work or whatever, a lot of people say, "Oh no, that would be inconvenient. Therefore, I'm setting a boundary." And I am not going to get out of my comfort zone for anybody. I think that that's a real hazard or danger with our beautiful comfort zone. Serving and connecting happens really quickly when you're willing to get out of your comfort zone for somebody. When you're willing to go kayaking, even though it frightens you. When you're willing to try a new thing, a new restaurant that your friend wants to go to. When you're willing to do what they want to do. It can't just be about you all the time.
Well,
You've got to reciprocate.
the control that we want in life to feel safe,
Mm-hmm.
it's nice if it worked. I wouldn't have, it just doesn't work. At some point,
It
there's
does work.
for
It works for a short moment, and then you have to have it again until you're controlling. You feel like you have to be in control of everything in your life. So when something out of your control hits, and it will, you fall apart. You've not built up those, hey, life is life, and I'm not in control muscles. You haven't exercised them, and they're weak, and you will fall apart.
I have this visual of my grandson. He didn't get his way. What happened? He didn't get his song on the radio in the car, okay? Stupid
Okay.
reason even. And he gets out of the car and he's so mad and he has so much anger. And I loved it because he just held his hand and I'm so angry. Screaming at the top of his lungs. And I'm like in the corner, therapist grandma going, trying not to say anything.
And his mom's going, shh, don't laugh at him.
I loved it that he could express that. I
Yes.
loved that he felt safe enough to say, I'm so angry. I did not correct that anger. He's allowed to be
Yes.
angry. And I think
Yes.
a 3-year-old throwing a tantrum is the same as an adult throwing a tantrum. In a lot of ways, it looks the
Yeah.
same. So how
And
you asked me, how do you get that? How do you regulate? How do you do that?
so I think I have found I am better with kids because it's age appropriate. And so I expect it. Whereas with an adult, it's not age appropriate and I don't expect it. And yet we all go there sometimes. I should expect it. Expect is not the right word. Be prepared.
Mhm.
I should be judge free in that area. We all go there.
Mhm.
So this is the line I use. I use several, but this is my favorite to say. It is okay to be angry. That's okay. You didn't get what you wanted, and I get it. We all feel that way. It is not okay to yell at your mother,
Or hurt your
or it's
brother.
not okay to yell, or it's not okay to hit. It's not okay to the behavior that's not okay. Your emotion is it. That's okay.
Thank
You
you.
can feel it,
Hmm.
and that teaches people of all ages self-regulation. Because really, what you're saying is you need to regulate that emotion.
And learn from that. The emotion's there to teach you something. One quick thing too is to get comfortable with just emotion in general.
Yeah, we talk about that all the time.
Yeah, just don't freak out. And logic versus emotions, there are different times you're going to need each.
Yeah.
But one thing to understand is that the neuroplasticity in your brain actually creates new brain pathways. When you are in the stretch zone and you overcome and you learn, literally, they can track it in your brain that you have created new pathways. So the next time that you're introduced to that situation, you'll know how to handle it better. Or maybe you won't, maybe you'll mess up, but there's a path for you that you created in your brain.
I've had reading glasses for, I don't know, 15 years. And I recently got actual glasses because now I need correction long distance. But it's okay because my optometrist assures me my eyes are getting old, even though the rest of me is not. I get in the car to drive, and my habit is to take my glasses off because they've just been readers for 20 years. So I go to take my glasses off and I realize, okay, here I've been given this fantastic tool. I can actually see the stop sign and I'm going to take that tool. I don't remember to use the tool. So this is one of the things I love about this program is we have ways to address that. Often I learn a new tool, but when I'm in the heat of the moment, when I'm angry or upset or sad or feeling grief or shame, I forget to use it. And so we have ways to, like you said, develop that neural pathway. And once it's developed, the longer you travel it, the deeper the grooves get and the easier it is to go there next time.
That's the treasure you're seeking. That's where it is.
Yes.
That's the truth you're seeking. Often it's just in the stretch zone.
It's in knowing where you're at and knowing where you need to be in the zones.
To regulating emotion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Viktor Frankl, who was the Holocaust survivor, and he wrote the meaning power of meaning through suffering. His whole book is about the meaning of suffering. And he was in a Nazi concentration camp. And he's what we base our program on is his concept of he lost his entire family. He was starved and diseased and tortured and saw death every day. So how do you heal from that? And how was he able to help other people heal from that struggle?
Which he did. He worked with many people, many survivors.
And how he did that was finding meaning in the pain. That's why he named his book Man's Search for Meaning, because you
Meaning, purpose, growth.
Making the pain mean something. If you've been through
Yeah.
something and you've grown, it gives
Yeah.
pain a purpose.
But if you approach it from the panic zone, which is very easy to do if you've experienced trauma, little T trauma and big T trauma, if you approach it from the panic zone, you're not going to find the meaning. Mm-hmm. It's not till you approach it from the stretch zone that you find meaning and healing. And then you can take that meaning, that purpose, to the comfort zone where you can sit with it and think about it and marinate and be in your safe place with the trauma there. Now you've healed. Is it go away? Did that thing not happen to you? No. But you see all that you've learned and all that you've gained.
Viktor Frankl says, when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves.
The God give me strength to endure the things that I cannot change, change the things I can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. I got it a little wrong, but yeah, I love that from the AA program. Mm-hmm. The Serenity Prayer, that's what it's called if you want to look it up. And
yeah. Well, there's resilience that you develop. It's like the birth of resilience. It's the birth of purpose. You choose how to respond to your pain.
And because I have developed those pathways of responding to my own pain, it helps me respond to somebody else's pain, even when somebody else's pain looks like a 2-year-old throwing a fit. Even when their pain is expressed inappropriately or with anger, or I can still go there. I can still recognize, oh, they're in the panic zone. They need compassion. I know this person. I know that they have a lot of good. I know that this is just their worst self. And there's a lot of awareness of abuse is just nothing but a good thing. Okay. But in all good things, there's an element of we can abuse it or overuse it, or there can be a price or a drawback to it. And I think one of the drawbacks to abuse awareness is we scream abuse when someone is just at their worst self and they're in their panic zone, instead of loving them with compassion and saying, here, I'm in the safe zone waiting for you. I've created a safe place for you. It is okay to be angry. It is not okay to yell. It is okay to be angry. It's not okay to hit or call people bad names. Now, obviously, if the gets to the hit and bad names frequently, or it's a habit, that's abuse. But the danger is that someone will go there for just a moment or just once, and we're like, oh, it's abuse. We need to have some compassion for people when they're in that panic zone and they are their worst self. We're supposed to love, right? Better or worse.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
So
And
are you
I
going to
get
be
there.
prepared, or are you just going to react? Going to
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. And it's going to happen the other way. I'm my worst self sometimes.
Sure.
And I appreciate the people in my life that give me grace.
Be aware you can push people so far. When you know what zone they're in, don't push them. Don't, just let them work through that and help
Yeah.
them work through that.
Another good way to deal with it would be, it feels like you need some space to regulate your emotions. Would you like me to leave the house? Just go in the other room? What can I do to give you the space?
I love space for emotions.
It's saying, I have confidence in you. I know you can regulate your own emotions. What is more beautiful than that? In the moment when they're out of control, you say, yeah, you just need a moment. You just need some space.
For
I
a
know you can.
3-year-old, it's time out, right? A lobster, did you know that lobster shells don't actually grow? The lobster does grow. So as it grows, the shell becomes tighter and tighter and uncomfortable. In the
Like your
moment,
jeans?
yeah.
I mean, my jeans.
Yeah, I was going to say, hey, no, of course. So eventually the lobster will find a rock to crawl under, and he crawls under the rock, he'll shed its shell and grow a new one.
That's what I want to do when my jeans get too tight. Under a rock.
And just shed it. Wouldn't that be nice? But the process of having that pain,
Mm-hmm.
stretching, having to start over and over and regrow its own shell. A snake, does something similar. It's all around us every day. Each day is new.
In the meantime, while he's regrowing, he's literally putting a hard shell around him's whole self.
Under the rock, he found a safe place to do
He
it.
found a safe place. He found a place where there was something strong between him and predators.
And then we kill it and eat it. It's so delicious.
Right?
That's the mean.
So I want to talk for a second about how to get in and out of the zones. So let's say you're in a panic zone, a panic place. What do you do that helps you regulate your emotions to the point where you can either go to the stretch zone or even the safe zone?
I think sometimes we want bad behavior to be what gets us out of it.
Oh yeah, we
I
depend
yell,
on
I
that
scream, I
because it makes you feel powerful, right?
like it's going to get me out of it, but it doesn't. So that is an important distinction.
And I think everyone's different. You got to
Mhm.
find your own tools. But let's talk about a few of them that maybe work for you and I, and people might be able to relate, or they'll know right away what their tool,
Yeah,
their
what
tool.
comes to your mind for your tools?
One thing for me is space is number one. Just the time, I need a moment. No one likes when they are dipping in the panic zone for someone to be like, come on, we got to discuss this. which is something I do to my husband a lot. I need an answer right now. And he's like, white knuckling it to stay out of the panic zone, right? So, space, the time and space, but also for me, connecting with nature.
Yeah, me too, for sure.
You've heard of grounding,
Hmm.
where you go outside and you take off your shoes? You actually let your porous feet touch soil, and there's something magical that happens. You'll have to look up grounding. It's an amazing process. Music.
Music's huge for me.
I have a playlist on Spotify called Angry Music
Interesting.
because I want to sit in that motion for a hot minute.
Okay.
And a song is what, 4 or 5 minutes long? Three sometimes. That's just enough time to sit in the anger. And now I'm ready to move on. So now I play a forgiveness song. I have a bunch that talk about
But you
God's
gave
grace.
yourself a time limit to feel
Yes.
and sit in that emotion. I think
Yes.
that's the biggest key right there.
Yes. Sometimes I don't even play the whole song. That's enough time. Yeah.
But I think
Anger
the
felt.
sticker, you are allowed to have this emotion for so long. Then you're done.
It's like the wave. Okay. I'm going to crest with that anger. I'm going to feel it, but I got to come back down. And if I'm managing the anger correctly, it won't be a crash, beat you under the wave, come back down.
I struggle with this topic a little bit just because
Okay.
everybody has such different coping mechanisms.
Mm-hmm.
So are we coping with the emotion or are we changing the emotion? Are we regulating the emotion? Are we overcoming the emotion? So there is a difference.
Are we
And
just masking it and pretending it's
yes,
not there?
yes. And I think we tend to naturally just put a band-aid on it. I don't want,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we have to because we're so busy and we don't have time and there isn't time to really process it right then. So
Right.
band-aids are important sometimes, but you do
But band-aids don't stay on forever.
it.
So rip off the band-aid when you get home.
Yes. Go talk to a friend who will help you. Hold your
Mm.
hand.
A couple weeks ago, I had just had such a bad day at work. Emotionally, physically, I was in pain, and emotionally, I was in pain. And I walked in the door, and I was just doing the normal, unpacking the groceries, and my husband just said, "How was your day?" And I just burst into tears.
Never done that. Never.
I don't usually. And he was so sweet and just came over and hugged me. And he knew, what some of what was going on at work. And he's like, bad day. And could sit with me in that, when I ripped the band-aid off and everything came out.
One tool that really actually helps when someone's in a panic zone. My friend had the same thing happen. Her husband comes home and she bursts into tears. She's overwhelmed. She has so much to do. She's in panic. Guess what he did?
He's like, what the heck? Why are you crying? What did I do wrong?
Made it about him. He could. He sat and listened. Listening's important. And then he started to make a list of everything she mentioned as she was venting to him.
Oh, he took notes.
He took notes, wrote it
Wow.
down, categorized it, helped her get a handle on all the things that were giving her overwhelm. When he handed the paper back to her, he said, "How can I help you?"
So he didn't take ownership. He didn't take over. He didn't make it about himself. Because when you're in that panic zone, you don't have that organizational thinking. Like I said, you're stupid. Your logic and reason part of your brain is literally bypassed.
It's monkey brain. Yep.
All instinct, you're all emotion.
I wish we could all just be that supportive. He showed support and love in so many ways. And
And
then
confidence in her. How can I help you do this?
she said when she got the list back, it felt like nothing. She's like, why am I even throwing a fit? She looked at the list and she's like, this is manageable. This is nothing. Isn't that interesting?
That's awesome.
When we do feel like we have a team, when we do feel really, truly supported by even just one human being instead of judged for being in the panic zone.
What is it? Sorrow needs to be shared, it needs to be felt with another person.
That community, that person that will be there for me. I don't know that I have truly ever experienced that. Okay, I
Yes,
can't say
right.
that. I can't say that. I'm taking it back. I'll edit that out.
He'll edit that out. No, don't edit it out because I think,
But I think
no.
we can not see it when it happens sometimes. I
Yes, I
think you're right.
love because you don't necessarily have it in this relationship where you want it. It feels it
Mm.
feels like nobody gets me. Nobody cares.
That's a good point. You're right.
But that's not the truth. It's just what your emotion is telling you.
Or
Listen
I
to the
don't have it
emotion.
written out, right? I don't have it written out and
Yeah.
clear. So therefore it's not clear in my mind. So then he can't be supporting me because it's not clear and written out. Well, they can still be supporting you.
In a way that isn't helpful to you. That
In a
that
very
and
human
that
way.
right, and that can be fixed with a conversation. And I need help by I need comfort. I need your arms around me. I need you to make me laugh. There's a whole menu list of choices, none of which are walking away.
Well, I think we all do that. We project what zone would work for us. I have a friend who will push me all the time because that's what she would do for herself. If we're learning something together, she just says, just do it. It'll work out. Just push yourself. But that doesn't always work out for me. I need to watch for a while and get comfortable with it. And then I'll do it. And it's not that I'm not going to do it, but I just need a hot minute to process what's going on.
Well, and when you're in the panic zone, you're not in the growth zone. And she's talking about the growth zone. Just push through it, just grow, just learn. And you're like, dude, it's all panic.
Mhm.
So yeah, you're very right. We do project what zone would work for us, or even for anybody. It's obvious you should be in the stretch zone, so just get there.
What is more powerful when you are in the panic zone? To go back to the stretch zone or go back to the comfort zone?
That's an interesting question. I think it depends on the person. The danger of going from panic to comfort, you don't want to skip over the stretch zone without coming back. But sometimes you do need a hot minute of comfort
I tend to use food as my comfort, and it's not reliable. It doesn't serve me well.
for a short moment.
So that's a really good question to ask yourself, whether
Mhm.
you are in just reaction or whether you're building a good pathway. How long will this last? And is this process painful? You bet it is. Absolutely.
We're talking about really difficult things. So if you're not there yet, that's okay. Hopefully, something that we've said, you'll remember it when you're in your panic zone, or you'll remember it when you're in your safety zone and you're like, I really need to stretch.
Or when your husband's in the panic zone and you don't want him to take you there.
Yeah, don't go there with him.
Mhm.
Sit with him, hold his hand, but you're in the safe zone, creating a safe space for him to join you when he's regulated.
In the
Yeah.
comfort zone,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy to trust.
Mm.
It's easier to have faith. Those two qualities, trust and faith. Isn't that interesting?
It's easier to express love.
It's easier to receive love.
Mm-hmm.
The comfort zone's vital. I'm not saying it's not. It is. It's a vital place in every relationship.
And it's not a recipe like making cookies where it's exactly 1.5 cups of flour and exactly a teaspoon of baking soda. It's different for each person. And that's the beauty also of this program is we don't tell you the recipe. We give you the ingredients and then we give you the tools, the homework and the tools to sit down and figure out for yourself when you need what and how much of each.
And we talk to you about your process. It's about
Yeah,
you.
because we're all different. Some of us live in the comfort zone. Some of us live in the panic. Some of us live in the growth, and we need balance with the other two. So you can't go to the right place and have balance unless you recognize and know where you're at right now. No shame in that.
No
It's
shame in
just a place to start. Is not only in the panic zone, shame creates a wall to keep you in the panic zone. And it's made of
you.
brick and steel, and you have to hammer through that sucker.
I saw a mother the other day publicly shaming her son in order to get a result from him, some obedience, and I thought I would lose it. It was all I could do to not judge her, to keep my mouth shut. And I walked away going, Beth, maybe he's the kind of person that needs that. Maybe he needs that in order to obey. Maybe, what am I thinking? But bull honky, nobody needs that.
Nope.
Nobody
Wait.
needs public shaming.
Any shaming, private shaming, public shaming. Mm-mm. We shame ourselves enough. Yeah.
The minute that you judge another human being, you've lost the battle for yourself and for them.
Yep.
You have just lost.
And you killed connection.
Mhm.
And you sacrificed an opportunity for connection. instead of instead of having that opportunity to sit with them in their emotion, now
Now
you've killed connection a little bit.
there is a fight zone. There is a time to fight for yourself to survive.
Yeah.
Like I said, Gina would be at my side during an
I would
apocalypse.
kill all the zombies.
We'd be back to back going
Yeah.
20 against 2.
Right.
But I do feel like I already have her at my side in
Mm-hmm.
the battle that we face every day.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I'm
got your
privileged.
back.
Yeah, we're privileged to
You've
have each other.
and you've got my back.
It's so much easier.
And then every once in a while we turn around and face each other and we giggle and laugh and dance and
And jab at each other a little.
what you're talking about. I don't remember that, but it sounds like
Thank you for listening. If you're still here, I value that you stuck with us.
yeah.
I respect you for trying in your life. I respect that a lot.
Every person we work with, I'm just overwhelmed at their bravery and courage and tenacity. It's a beautiful power thing to see them change their own lives.
And that's where respect comes from, is that
Yep.
stretch zone. Thanks
Yeah.
again. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We need it.